not admitted without parents or guardian.
Good evening, fans of fantastic films, and welcome once again to the Drive-In Asylum double feature. I'm Bill Van Ryn, editor of fanzine Drive-In Asylum, and this week Sam Panico isn't on the broadcast, and fortunately for us, we've got Bradley Still Harding here, and we're going to talk about some great movies tonight. Hi, Bradley.
Good to see you, Bill. Good. I'm excited to talk about Texas horror films. Texas indie horror.
This was one of those evenings where we just turned around and there was a theme. I don't know. Were we even thinking of that when we chose these movies?
I don't know. I think you chose Keep My Grave Open, which is a great choice.
I did, yeah. Yeah, I had to have that one sooner or later on the show because, well, it's amazing. But also, I knew it was something that you liked. And at least I had a feeling that you liked it because I know you're a huge SF Brownrigg fan.
I am, and Camilla Carr especially, and she's she's very brave in this film, and she's front and center, and it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch her in this crazy movie that I don't quite understand, but maybe after we watch it again tonight, we can all figure it out together.
It's definitely a puzzle. It's a riddle.
Yeah.
And I just want to I feel like I should give a disclaimer when we watch a movie like this because as Sam and many others like to say, my favorite kind of movie is a film where nothing really happens in it. And this is definitely probably the biggest example of a movie where nothing really happens in it. I mean, obviously things happen, but at the end of it, what seems to have occurred was a little you had to think about it instead of experience it. That's a good way to put it, right? It leaves a greater
they both have a very languid pace, both of these films. But if you are a fan of SF Brownrigg and Larry Buchanan, tonight's your night, because Larry did not direct Night Fright, but he may as well direct a Night Fright. So two legends are sort of haunting tonight's show. So
I'm
excited to talk about them.
It's pretty amazing because to think, I don't know, does that still happen today? Like these regional filmmakers, is it as big of a thing now as it was in the 70s? Because, for a while there, and you didn't make a movie unless you went to Hollywood, and then other people started doing it in where they were based. And the Texas scene had a lot of really interesting people who made some great movies.
Oh my gosh. Living in Dallas and being a Psychotronic film fan, it's very interesting because there were dozens of independent films shot in the 60s and 70s here through, I guess, the early 90s until the tax incentives left and everyone went to Shreveport, But Dallas and the surrounding area had a lot of, and I'm not sure why exactly, but they had a lot of independent film studios, a lot of commercials were shot here, a lot of commercial work, a lot of industrial movies as well. And that's how Brownrigg, I think, got his start. He was doing a lot of commercials and doing some industrials as well before he got into features. So
that's how it happened in Pittsburgh too, with Romero doing the industrial films, and then all of a sudden, I want to make a real movie, and bam, a legend is born.
And when I'm looking, I'm reading the chat. Somebody just mentioned the Black Cat. You can go really deep. You can fall into a deep, deep rabbit hole, connecting the dots to all of the production people who worked with each other, starting in the 60s.
Sure.
The director of Night Fright, I don't want to get ahead of myself here because there's so much to cover, and maybe we won't get into too much of it at all tonight. But the director of Night Fright didn't do a whole lot after this debut film, but he was the editor for Manos of Fate.
Wait,
so
say that again.
Weird,
you kind of like faded out there for a minute.
I'm sorry. The director of Night Fright.
Yeah.
He didn't do a whole lot, but one claim to fame is that he was the editor for Manos, The Hands of Fate.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a big deal to me. I mean, it's funny that all of these odd psychotronic films, that was El Paso, but all these people, were part of a tight-knit community, and they all worked together. And anyway, it's fascinating. A lot of the people that worked on the first feature tonight.
Any movie with Bill Thurman is all right by me too.
Bill Thurman. Who is Bill Thurman?
He's the deputy in Night Fright.
Oh,
not Sean Agar, but the other guy.
Okay.
Wow. But we are getting ahead of ourselves talking about Night Fright. The first film, or did you have something else that you were trying to finish?
No, I'm just saying it's very incestuous. I mean, you could talk about them both, but the first film.
Keep My Grave Open. This was a really elusive film for me. I don't know where you saw it first, and I'm curious to know because I didn't see it until much, much later in life.
Well, I have a good story. I have a lot of interesting stories with the psychotronic community. Should I call them the psychotronic community, or what's the independent horror community here in Dallas? But
fantastic.
I have a story about that. When Camilla Carr came into town to oversee the production of a play that she wrote called All About Betty. This is about 12, 13 years ago. It was a while ago. Camilla Carr is not only an actress, but she's a very prolific writer, producer. She wrote a play about Betty Davis. And she has ties with Theater 3 here in Dallas. Annabelle Wienick, who was essentially the AD for all of S.F. Brownrigg's early films. She was a key player at Theater 3, and that's how they cast a lot of his movies. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. When Camilla came to Dallas to oversee the production about 12 years ago, I got in touch with her. I was very excited that she was in town. They'd done an article on her, and I had to meet her. So I gave her flowers, and we set a date to have dinner opening night of the play. And I had never seen, that was the one film that I'd never seen. And I knew that she was the star of it. So I found it and bought it. And I found that she didn't have a copy of it, and she hadn't seen it in years. So I was able to give her my copy of Keep My Grave Open. So that's how I first saw it, because I was going to meet her in a few days. So I had to see the film, be able to talk to her about it, be able to ask questions, because I was so fascinated by, the production side of his films and how they worked, because it wasn't just it wasn't just Brownrigg; it was a whole community. Brownrigg was not an auteur. He worked with a lot of people, and he was very technically proficient, and he knew what to do behind the camera, but he wasn't that great with actors. So he had Annabelle there to work with them directly, and you know he knew what he didn't know. So he had this creative community working with him, and they were all local people. And it's a cool story because there are a lot of just really lovely people who worked with him on every feature, and worked with him, I guess, at Century Studio. And a lot of these people worked with Larry Buchanan and all that, the AIP TV movie things that he did.
You mentioned that he
was
wasn't
a long,
an auteur.
Weird story to say that I did see the movie, and but it wasn't until I needed to, so I could talk to Camilla about it directly. So that was kind of a cool thing.
Yeah, you said about Brownrigg not being an auteur, but his movies definitely have a certain feel to them, regardless.
Absolutely.
So maybe it wasn't the vision of one person, but the combination of these folks seem to bring about a certain quality that's immediately identifiable. And I think the SF Brownrigg films are a lot better than most of what Larry Buchanan did. I enjoy it a lot more, even though probably there's a lot of people that would disagree with me.
There's no question. I mean,
Okay,
especially when you compare those TV films, and those are the famous ones, and those are the ones that people are most familiar with. I think the 4 that he did for AIP television with $30,000 in like a week, shoot this. No, they weren't very good.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you say that he wasn't good with actors, because I always felt that was the deciding factor in his movies.
Well, no, Bill, Bill, and there are a lot of rabid fans here, so no, I didn't say that he wasn't good with actors. No, I said that he wasn't interested. He knew what he didn't know, and he knew that he was better behind the camera.
Yeah,
he was better as he knew that Annabelle would be able to give the actors better direction than he could. So, and what I'm saying is that it was a group effort. I'm not saying that he was bad with actors, or it was just she handled a lot of that herself. So, and and Camilla and SF's son Tony, they would be the first people to tell you. Annabelle had a huge hand in the performance component of those films. So it was a group effort, and they do all very similar. And saying that he wasn't an auteur, that's not a bad thing. An auteur is just someone who writes the script and directs and produces, and has his, a singular vision. And I think Brownrigg was more, a journeyman filmmaker. It was sort of like, we're going to just do this together, and maybe he didn't have a specific vision, but he made a really entertaining movie, and drew a lot of creative energy from the community.
I didn't actually see Keep My Grave Open until it was probably like the later part of the 90s, or even the early 2000s. It was very elusive. And same thing with Scum of the Earth. And I loved Don't Open the Door, and of course Don't Look in the Basement so much. And it took me a long time to track down the rest of his stuff, because I don't know, I guess I never rented them. They were on VHS. Somebody mentioned that earlier. I think it was Lint in the chat, as to whether or not this movie was on VHS, and it was. In fact, I think there were at least 2 different VHS releases for this film, and each one had the most ridiculous cover that gave you no clue as to what the movie actually was, and probably set a lot of people up for disappointment when the film they were confronted with didn't have anything to do with like demonic torture chambers and dripping blood. But it's definitely a mood piece. I like to think of this movie as SF Brownrigg's Repulsion, because it's very much like that.
It is, yeah.
It's a woman in an
with hints of homicidal and it feels like a lot about symptoms. Is another lady in the house thing, psychological, stuff going on.
Yeah, that's my jam. I love that kind of thing.
Oh, I do too. Yeah.
And in fact, it's probably just me being ignorant saying this, but I like this better than Repulsion. I think it's a much better movie.
I'm not going to argue with you if you say you like it better. Once you say, "Oh, it's a better movie than Repulsion," then then we can have a conversation. But no, I will not begrudge you that.
You're not going to take the bait, Bradley Stillharding.
No, I do think that Keep My Grave Open is probably the most visually engaging of Brownrigg's work. Although I've only seen Scum of the Earth once on a really bad bootleg, so I can't say that I've seen it really, or can appreciate the mise en scène, the camera work.
Well, where is that Blu-ray restoration that we've been promised for years?
And I've never seen Thinking Big. His exploitation film. That was his last movie, I think, from '85. Has anyone seen Thinking Big?
His teen sex comedy.
It doesn't look good. I mean, I've seen a trailer and a couple of scenes. It does not look good. But
that really wasn't my thing. Like even I only watched those movies if there was nothing else on HBO. It was like the teen sex comedy genre just sort of escaped me because wonder why it was all about boobs. So
right,
I wasn't watching it, but there was that was my mistake because a lot of those movies are, I'm starting to appreciate them a lot more than I did back then. But the movies, not boobs,
right.
I still, but no, it's tonight's movie, Keep My Grave Open. It had a troubled release because I was going to ask you this, if you know what year it was actually filmed. I don't.
As I was watching it, I was thinking this was not 77. They didn't shoot it in 77. I mean, supposedly it had some kind of release in 77, but it looks like 75 maybe. I have no idea what the production history was, and I just watched it, so I didn't have enough perspective to ask Camilla a lot of. It wasn't. It was fresh on my mind, but it wasn't like a movie that I knew. I had a lot of, don't look in the basement questions for her, and but no, we were talking. I was actually just telling her the plot of Keep My Grave Open because she'd forgotten a whole lot about it.
That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I can't imagine her revisiting it much.
Yeah, well, because she just seems like she's in another movie the whole time. At least that's my feeling. Like it feels like she's acting another film, and that might have even been what she was doing, like what she was going for. She gives a very interesting performance of somebody who has tonight's movie is about a woman with psychological issues, and I think Camilla's performance really captures this sort of like inner turmoil of a person that suffers from whatever malady she has in this film. I would love to get some opinions after everybody's done watching it, because I always wondered what her issue was. But I think Camilla's really good.
She's very invested in the performance. I mean, it's great to watch. She's great fun in it, So I mean, and it's all about her. So
it's beautiful. It's a beautiful film, and unfortunately, there are no nice looking copies of this out there. I linked to the best one I could find on YouTube, but all we have are a battered VHS dupe that was on a whole bunch of those dollar film packages. I think it popped up there a couple times, and so it doesn't look great. It doesn't look as good as it could, and I hope that one day somebody sees fit to reissue it. Oh, we have canine drama going on over here. She's bored because
But
I'm not paying it.
it's okay. I think it's okay that that it's not the best looking copy.
Yeah.
We'll just pretend we're at the drive-in and it's the 7th or 8th city that this print has.
Yeah. It's not high art.
It's not.
She has to make her weekly appearance.
No.
So I don't know what I should do first.
You can tell, even though the print is not the best, that they're doing something interesting with the camera this time. He's really he's working. I think working with a different cinematographer on Keep My Grave Open, and it's the camera's fluid. They're doing something. It's interesting. Like I said, I think it's just cinematically, it's his most engaging film of the first 4.
Yeah, I was pretty
that
sure
would make
that,
sense for him.
Yeah,
I would believe that.
I was pretty sure that they made all 4 of S.F. Brownrigg's horror films very closely together, and because all the actors look like they're about the same age. It could have been the same month, for all we know. So that's
yes,
no surprise there. All right, so well, let's look at some ads for tonight's first feature, Keep My Grave Open, which I hope everybody is going to just love. Okay. I'm producing the show live, so you have to forgive me my little delays. This movie, as we just said, it was filmed a lot earlier. It didn't actually appear in theaters until 1977, which is kind of, I don't know, like that must have been really depressing to make a movie and then it just sort of sits on the shelf for a couple of years. I don't know. I'd just be all excited. I'd want it to be out there. But yeah, it first appeared. It first appeared as like a B feature on other lineups. Look at this one with Fright, Seeds of Evil. That's where Joe D'Alessandro turns into a tree. And Massacre Mafia style. But it's not like Keep My Grave Open got a big, any fanfare. It was just sort of like slapped onto these double and triple and more bills. So here it is with the reissue of From Beyond the Grave called The Creatures. And it's the B feature there from December 1977. Oh, that first ad was from Oklahoma City. Bradley.
Oh my gosh, that's the Hillcrest. Okay, so what's the date on this?
Well, that was in 77. It was like October 1977. Okay, this one is from
cool. Yeah,
December 90.
Hillcrest.
This one's with The Witch Who Came from the Sea. Here it is in March of 78 with.
I saw The Brood at the Hillcrest.
Oh wow, that's it's coming up with Schizo. Pete Walker's Schizo. Nurse Sherry. Our Love Holds On.
Interesting.
I love how they tied Nurse Sherry to Carrie and Ruby. Die Sister Die. And there's another Pete Walker film, Frightmare. And tonight's first feature, Keep My Grave Open. Here you go, Bradley, at the Skyview in Oklahoma City. It came back, and now Keep My Grave Open is the big anchor feature.
Oh my God.
Which is how it should have been all along. This is September of 79.
Oh, wait, I'm not seeing Skyview. I'm seeing
You're a little behind, so I'm sorry.
Wait,
I think
I'm
you're seeing it on a delay.
the UA Viking. Okay, that's okay. The Skyview Drive-In was the only drive-in that my parents would not take me to.
Why not?
Because of where it was located in Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
Spencer, Oklahoma.
That's interesting.
And my mom taught high school. My mom taught high school in Spencer, Oklahoma. So I think she would have been embarrassed if her students had seen her at the Skyview as well.
See, that makes more sense. God. Yeah. Here it is from The Witch Who Came from the Sea again. And in January of 81, it was still playing theatrically.
It's 11.
with the B feature, The Demon Lovers, which is actually The Demon Lover. But, people like to add S's where they don't belong and vice versa. Here it is in Odessa, Texas.
Right.
With The Demon Lover again. And it got its own little picture ad there. Thanks to whoever put this ad together. With Kung Fu on the other screen at the video park. Right on. Here it is with Gok, Body Snatcher from Hell. December 1982. Yeah. Can you believe it? I just would have loved to have been able to go see this
82.
theatrically at some point. Everybody was so lucky. Okay, what the hell's going on with this? July 1983 with the clip art from Creepshow. Keep my grave open, and it's the creep in the ad instead.
That's weird.
And here we go. Here's another great drive-in ad with it's playing with Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. And The Night Evelyn Came Out of the Grave. Unbelievable entertainment. And sex comedies on the other side. December 1983, it was on TV for the first time. At least that's the first time I saw it playing on TV. It might have been a little bit earlier. I love when I was a kid, I used to love seeing movies on TV that were playing theatrically. And I thought it was amazing that people would pay to go see these movies when they could watch them on TV for free.
Yeah. It happened a few times.
These TV guide synopses,
when I was a kid, I remember.
They didn't know what to say. This one says, open graves, no waiting, to describe Keep My Grave Open. This one says, a series of bizarre murders in a haunted house lends a macabre touch to the conclusion of a spooky horror story. Which is like saying nothing and saying everything.
Right.
First time on VHS, this little reviewer had like kind of nice things to say about it, but said it was from the director of The Abysmal, Don't Look in the Basement. So we're not going to listen to whatever this film critic says.
No.
Luckily, they didn't give their name. Unsuspecting visitors to an old mansion become murder victims. This is the closest to the actual content of Keep My Grave Open. But this says it was filmed in 1968. Not true. And this one goes way off the deep end. Grisly story surrounding a man's funeral. Mm-hmm. You'll be happy to know that most of those synopses have nothing to do with Keep My Grave Open, because those movies all sound really boring. All right, so those
are great lines, Bill.
Sorry you were seeing it on a delay. That happens sometimes when I show the movies with. That was a video within this chat environment. So next time I'll stream it. That seems to be more reliable. Now, if you follow Sam on Twitter and on his website BNS About Movies, he left cocktail recipes for us. And tonight's first drink. I lost the page, so I don't actually know the title of this drink. Sorry, Sam, but let's do it right now. I'm going to do like a modified version because he had a lot of ingredients in it. Damn it! And what it is I'm going to make. He made a shot, so I'm just going to totally go. I'm going to order off the menu and not make that shot that he listed. I'm going to do the drink that I'm actually going to do for the second feature too, and it's like a Shirley Temple, but with vodka in it. So what you do is you get out your drink, your glass rather, with some ice in it. I like it easy when it's time to make a cocktail. All right, so we're gonna, you can use a measure if you want to and just put an ounce in, but I just eyeball it. Just dump some vodka right in there. Okay, so there's your vodka. Now, Gonna get some ginger ale. Sam says you should use lemon lime soda, but Vivi's interested in this. You're not gonna like it. All right, so pour in some ginger ale over top of that vodka, like so. Then you add some maraschino cherries, or if you're like me and you tore the fridge apart and couldn't find any fucking maraschino cherries, then you just pour some cherry juice in it. And it's that easy. Just go to your fridge and get out anything, soy sauce, whatever. And here you go. You have the alcoholic Shirley Temple or a Johnny Rocket. When a Shirley Temple, of course, was a non-alcoholic beverage that kids got. But I think if you gave one to made one for a little boy, you were supposed to call it a Johnny Rocket, so that you didn't,
I've never heard that.
But anyway, Bradley, thank you so much for coming on this program.
Yeah, cheers.
And cheers to you. Delicious. So, Bradley, what's been going on with you? What do you have cooking with your movie? I'm dying to know. 13 Tracks to Frighten Agatha Black. What's going on?
Sorry, you're freezing a little.
Oh, well, I asked about your new movie, 13 Tracks to Frighten Agatha Black. Where are we?
Thank you for asking about my movie. It's being color corrected and it will be ready hopefully next month, mid-March, and so we'll be sending it out to festival competition, and hopefully we'll get to see it on the big screen. But speaking of Texas, independent Texas horror films, there are a lot of really cool connections in my movie that I was able to sort of exploit. Random horror psychotronic connections that I was able to sort of not exploit, celebrate, and use in my film. So it'll be fun to talk about. But there's like a Brownrigg connection and a Buchanan connection, and lots of odds, exploitation, odds and ends that made it into my film, because I just met people who worked in the industry, this not the psychotronic industry, but the independent film industry in Dallas. People who just still live here, who I just met randomly. So
you wrapped filming right before COVID happened, didn't you?
We did, yeah. So yeah, the past couple of years, this film has taken 3 years, basically. So, when you mentioned, Keep My Grave Open coming out in 1977 and how awful that must have been. Yeah, it's awful, having a film wrapped and then not able to get it to the next level. It's awful. So,
but it's finally happening.
It is. And there were a lot of there are so many random connections that are part of my film, and that celebrate Texas indie movies. I just want to say one thing, which is really weird and random, but my neighbor, who lives right next door to me, Michelle, this lovely woman, I found out after I asked her if I could use her home as an exterior location for my film. I found out that she was in Larry Buchanan's Eye Creatures. She was in Eye Creatures, my neighbor.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and people here know that's a really cool, odd thing. But yeah, there are.
Was she the lady with the hairdo that looked like the back end of a wasp?
She's the blonde in the car who's kissing the guy throughout the movie, and her name is Cheryl, and she has one line, but she's in the entire movie, and she's what's his name? Tommy Kirk. Is Tommy Kirk in that one, or is it the other guy?
She's She's not the lady with the wasp hairdo then, but that's
No,
fabulous that
but
she's
she has
in that
long blonde
movie.
hair, and yeah, my neighbor is in the movie. So there's a Larry Buchanan connection in 13 Tracks, which is very cool. So
The Eye Creatures was one of those must watches whenever it was on TV.
oh yeah, all of those films, just wacky and strange. And John Ashley, right? John Ashley. Thank you.
Oh, that was the lead in that.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny that the Eye
Tommy Kirk
Creatures.
did Mars.
Funny that that movie should come up, The Eye Creatures, because tonight's second feature is basically The Eye Creature with a different monster.
Right. And a lot of the people who made The Eye Creatures worked on Night Fright, which I keep wanting to call Fright Night, but no.
Oh, please don't. Peter Vincent is not in this production.
No, it's a different thing altogether.
So do you want to look at some of the stuff I got this week?
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Make me jealous.
I don't want to say too much because there's a project that Sam and I have been working on, but I've already talked about it on social media, so I can mention it here. Sam and I just finished recording a commentary for an upcoming Blu-ray release of an independent film, and I can't say much more than that about which movie it is, but it was created by someone who appeared in a previous issue of Drive-In Asylum. And we're really excited about it. But anyway, he came over the other night so we could record the commentary track, and he brought me some movies, and I'll just show them right now. First of all, he brought me the new version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which is amazing. I've been dying to see this. Yeah. So I got that, and he got me this.
Oh,
which is
man, I can't wait to see that. I've never seen the uncut version of Antichrist.
Oh, really? It's special.
Yeah.
I want to see the cut version now. I want to see the cut version. Like, I want to see what people saw in theaters as the Tempter.
Okay, I've seen the cut version. Yeah.
Okay.
I want to see the uncut stuff.
I also got The Laughing Woman, featuring Dagmar Lasseter, who was in Hatchet for a Honeymoon, which we just watched last week on the show. We got the screeners of Mill of the Stone Women, and which
cool.
This is going to be my first time seeing this movie. I've never actually seen Mill of the Stone Women, so it's both discs from the set. And this came in the mail today, or maybe yesterday. The new Blu-ray UHD for Alligator, which I got my copy. I'm so excited. I have an ad gallery on it, and Ramon makes a guest appearance in my ad gallery, and I was very pleased that I managed to make this happen. So anyway, pick it up, because not even for my ad gallery, because the transfer of this movie is amazing, for one thing. And not only that, but they also include the TV version of the movie, which is, that's the version that first appeared on home video. I think there was like a home video release of Alligator, and all of the swear words were cut out. And of course, the most graphic violence was missing. But there were additional scenes that weren't in the theatrical cut, including a scene where the alligator stalks this little girl, this baby, in her backyard. Do you remember that part?
No, I don't. I didn't bother to watch Alligator on television.
Oh, Bradley.
I wouldn't have watched it on TV. I loved Alligator.
Yeah, so
I wouldn't have watched it on television.
So they include that version, which is really cool. So you finally get to see those missing scenes that you thought you dreamed the first time you saw Alligator on television. So that's my mail haul for the week.
Cool.
Anything else you want to say about Keep My Grave Open before we go to the movie?
I don't think so. No, it'll be interesting to chat about it. But no, let's watch it.
Like I said earlier, don't expect a lot of action in this movie. It's not scary, but there are a lot of creepy things that happen in it. It's one of those movies that if you allow it, it'll get inside your head. And I think you'll agree with me that Camilla Carr's, with me and Bradley, that Camilla Carr's performance in this film is just astonishing. And it's great. Yeah, I agree. I linked to a version on YouTube that I found that was really the best looking copy out there, but I mean, don't expect anything great because it's going to be
terrible. It's pretty terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but no, if you like SF Brownrigg, if you've never seen this before, you'll appreciate it. You know, if nothing else, you know, a lot of basement people are there. So Gene Ross.
Yeah. Who in their right mind would ever say "Don't Look in the Basement" was a bad movie? I want to know.
Not me.
I wouldn't say it either.
Not this guy.
All right, so go. It's the last post on the Groovy Doom Facebook page. It's a link, or just go to YouTube and look up "Keep My Grave Open." It was first released in 1977, so that's the year that's probably attached to it on YouTube. But I think you'll agree with us that it had to have been shot a lot earlier than that. Come back after the movie. We'll have lots more to talk about and more drinks to make and more ads to look at on the Drive-In Asylum double feature. See you then.